All right. So to begin, I would love everyone just to take, oh, here's Sammy. I would love everyone to take just 3 deep breaths together. Just settle into this call, this space. Hi, Sammy.
Hello.
All right, y'all. So yeah, we're gonna take 3 deep breaths. So I invite you to just close your eyes. Let all your air out. Take a big inhale through your nose, fill up. Pause your breath at the top. And take a big audible sigh through your mouth. Relax your body, let everything go. Again, big inhale through your nose, fill up. Pause your breath at the top. Take a big audible sigh through your mouth. Exhale, let it go. One more time, big inhale. Pause. Big exhale. Release. And just gently come back to your natural rhythm of breath. Softening your body. Soften your thoughts. And when you're ready, you can flutter your eyes open and reconnect to the world around you. So thank you for going through that with me. And I want you to take this as a tool. These 3 deep breaths are absolutely transformative, and it's just 3 breaths. And so if you are met during this upcoming week with overwhelm or cravings or whatever might pop up, to notice when you get in that agitated survival state and come back down to your breath. Because we operate from conscious ability to respond when we can be in not fight or flight state. When we're in fight or flight state or survival mode, we're selfish, we're acting out of fear or lack or anxiety, and then we're creating more of that. So if we can remember, oh, there I am, I'm in this survival state, and bring ourselves back to stillness, this is where we operate from higher self and can make conscious choices for our best well-being. So just hold on to that. Those 3 breaths, use that as a superpower. It's medicine. Your breath is literally medicine. You can do way more than 3, but just, you can start with 3. Okay. So for today, what I'd like to do is we have a little agenda. So what we're going to be doing is going through my first favorite part, which is so important, which is celebrations. So I want to hear your celebrations. Then we're going to talk about challenges that came up last week so we can navigate them for next week. And then we're going to dive into sugar. We're going to dive deep into my favorite topic ever, which is sugar, because I was a complete sugar addict. And I know many of you are dealing with sugar cravings and just wanting to be able to navigate that. So I want to give you really a deep dive into how sugar affects the body so that you are motivated to stay with this forever, and just tools to navigate sugar cravings. Okay. And then at the end, I'm going to encourage you to plan out your week if you haven't yet. And before anything, please drop a 1 in the chat if you have filled out the intake or the reflection form that I sent out in the email. And if you haven't, that's okay. Just want to get kind of an idea and remind y'all to thank you, Dawn. Just a reminder to fill that out. It's so important to take time to just reflect on your week. And I would love your feedback so that I can make next week even better. So make sure to do that. And it's a quick form. It shouldn't take long. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, please do that for me if you can today. And then to get started, I would love to know what are your biggest wins from last week? What are you super proud of? And some of you shared them in that post on day 6, but I want to hear more. So you can drop them in the chat, or if anyone's willing to unmute themselves, you're welcome to unmute yourself. Selena's stomach bloat is nearly gone. That is awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, y'all can type them, shout them out. Anything you're proud of, or anything like Selena, her body's noticing these changes, anything you're noticing for yourself and your energy. and bloatedness and puffiness. I know for me, I was so puffy and I never realized how puffy I was from gluten, especially. It would just be like my eyes, I'd wake up and my eyes would be like swollen. And then once I got off like gluten and dairy, it was like, wow, cheekbones. Like it was like
I was
crazy.
gonna say that like I think the gluten and dairy part, like I definitely feel less inflammation around my whole body. So that feels great.
Sammy, thank you for sharing that. I'm so excited to hear that. Anyone else? I know some of y'all are.
Yeah, so wins for me is that I participated in the meditation almost every day this week. and I watched your motivational talks in the mornings, which is kind of hard for me because that's like a busy time of the morning for me because I'm having to feed my animals and get dressed for work and get to my computer in time to be on meetings, you know, like right away. So I love fitting those in when I can. And I was just really glad that I got to participate in probably, I want to say it was like 5 of them this week or 4, maybe it was 4. I think I missed 1 during the week. Anyway, so I feel good about that. And then I got some more movement in than usual. I got, you know, I put on my leg and arm weights and I made sure I like went up and down the stairs because I work at home. So I'm sitting at my desk like all the time. So I forced myself to get up, go downstairs, come upstairs, you know, just to get more movement in. So I feel good about that.
Dawn, thank you for sharing that. And yes, it deserves so much celebration. That is huge. And what do you feel like the meditations, creating that space in the morning, even when you've got a ton going on, what do you think that does for you?
It settles me maybe in the mornings because I am kind of like, it is kind of like a rush time for me, like in a hurry to get dressed and ready before work. And it also lets me know I have that tool to use later if I need to, and it's not going to take that much time for me to stop and do that to kind of, you know, if I need to refocus and maybe avoid a craving or something like that. So I find it very useful and just comforting to know that it's there as a tool.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. Awesome. And let's see. So we've got Andrew says, I finally learned how to make salad that I like. Yes, Andrew, I'm curious if I know you're cooking right now, so you don't have to respond, but if you're able to, what kind of salad that is?
It's so easy. I just bought like this huge box of organic mixed greens from Whole Foods. And then they also had grilled chicken that's like ready-made strips. And so I put that, and then they had like a bag of broccoli slaw. I put that, and a few dried cranberries, and then pecans. And I made my own dressing that I got from a cookbook that's just like olive oil and champagne vinegar and salt and lemon and Dijon mustard. And it's so good.
Yum. Heck yes. I love that.
And super easy. I can make it in basically like 5 minutes.
Amazing. I'm typing that in the chat so if anyone wants it. Chicken, pecans, dried cranberries, broccoli slaw, dressing, olive oil.
Oh, I can type it in too.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah. And yeah, y'all finding these go-tos is so great. I know when I first started, I ate like the same meal every single day. It was like 2 meals. One of them was zucchini noodles with chicken, and I would saute spinach and tomatoes and the pepperoncinis, and then I would pour pepperoni juice on it. And I would just put like that chicken, spinach and tomatoes and pepperoncinis over the zucchini noodles. I ate that maybe every day for like at least 8 months. It was my favorite, but that's me. I could eat the same thing every day. I know a lot of people aren't like that. So, but finding those go-tos that are like your new defaults, like, okay, this is so easy, is so helpful. But yes, awesome. Any other wins anyone wants to share? Never anything too small, never anything too much.
Made like a few different, what is like 2 or 3 different, no, I did at least like 2 different hour-long yoga practices, and I had kind of stepped away for a while, so that's pretty big for me. And then I've done some kind of movement on the mat more days than not. So
Jess, I'm so happy to hear that. What do you think that's doing for you by getting on your mat?
well, I mean, because I just immediately move out of that achiness that I'll have in the morning. And then that's not slowing me down because like, I don't know, like I have a lot of general stiffness after getting up. So, and then that'll make me think I'm tired and sore and can't do things. So it's like, okay, past that illusion. So, and then it helps my metabolism to whatever extent. So, yeah. So it's good.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it helps me like tune in to where I'm actually at.
totally. That is awesome. Good job. And Susan, did you want to say something?
I was just gonna say that for me, I just didn't think I could do this right now. But I had a week off to just try to take care of some things from work, and so I just filled it with Mindful Belly. So I'm making better food choices. I think I wrote yesterday, even on game day. And I am just looking forward to, I think the next step for me is exercise once I get this eating under control.
Yes. Susan.
Yay!
Good for you. Yes. And I'm curious for on game day. So I know that can be a challenge for sure, especially living in the South. So what did you do? What helped you on game day?
Well, I think we eat pretty decent anyway, but we always have dessert. And so I went to that Paleo Mama site. Selena, thank you so much for reminding me about that site. And I did the blonde brownies, or like they're like little cups that you fill. So it's almond flour, almond butter, and a little bit of coconut sugar and vanilla. And then you fill it with those Keiko, I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but those Keiko chips with almond butter and vanilla. And it makes like a chocolate kind of fudge. And so they kind of resemble the ones where if you put the peanut butter cup in the middle of the thing, but it's just a much healthier version. So I took all my stuff over to my son and daughter-in-laws, and I just did that with one of the grandkids yesterday.
Oh, this is so good. Thank you for sharing that. And this is awesome. This is all what this is about. It's like up leveling. So you don't have to feel deprived on special occasions like that. It's like, okay, what can I do? Look up that recipe, Paleo Mama. Yeah, and thank you, Selena. That's her recipes are so good. Paleo Mama.
Well, she started that with that broccoli slaw, and then I think I spent an hour on that website.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
Good stuff.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, anyone else who wants to share, here is your time. And then while Mary, if you want to share anything, welcome to the call. Any wins for your week? And then next question I'm going to ask you, and y'all are free to drop any more wins in the chat too. Next question I want to ask you is kind of shifting gears a little bit, but reflecting on this past week, where was a time or occasions that you felt that it was difficult, or that you may have slipped up a little bit, or you just was hard? Maybe someone brought something to work, or like you were really tired one day. Like, what was your biggest challenge this past week? And you can drop these in the chat.
My biggest
I want to
challenge.
say,
Oh yeah. Whoever wants.
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Who said? Okay, you go ahead.
Sam. Oh, we'll go Sammy first, and then Dawn.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So one of my hard ones was going out to eat with other people because, I don't know, there's not much option, or there is much options, but I don't know, it was just harder to kind of think and be mindful about it. And I accidentally had some chips with guacamole and didn't think about it for some reason. And then also I went to go have some curry, and someone had some rice, and I had a bite of that, and it was always just like, oh, just one bite, but it was just the one thing that I struggled with. So it was just going out to eat and like eating out with people has always been kind of the harder one for me, because I always use that as like, you know, living life and like giving myself a treat type thing. And but it's helped to be more mindful about it. At least like I'm able to observe those aspects so I could like be better at it. But it was difficult, not gonna lie.
Sammy, thank you so much for sharing that. And it is so difficult, especially in the beginning, to do that. I just typed up just a couple of the notes that you said. And yeah, well, I'm so happy that you were able to like be way more mindful of it and notice those habits. And so I'm curious for you, what do you think if you were to have that same day repeated tomorrow? So you, same situation, you were feeling the same, you went to this restaurant. What would best Sammy do and think?
I would know that I deserve to be healthy and don't want to suffer from any of my thyroid symptoms, when I can easily make that choice without having a bite of rice or a bite of chips, because it's just way bigger for me. So I would tune back into my why and understand that I'm worthy of that, and that I can do hard things, and that there is nothing that is over me that could create my day or my reality. And I just need to like step in my power in those moments, like more breath work maybe right before that to help me think that. So I think that would help.
Yes. Oh, beautiful, Sammy. Yes. And that little part of you, the one that wants, that's saying like, oh, well, I want to live life and just, I deserve a treat. What do you think that little part of you needs?
To realize that there's more, that's not the only place I can get treats, that life is full of treats, and I just need to kind of divert or just turn my head to another perspective maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And if so, something I like to do too is like that little part. So that's the like perfect answer to like, okay, we can get treats from other things. Like, yeah, you are worthy of being treated, and we don't have to do it with things that are going to harm us. And so that little, if it was like a toddler, and you're basically, it's like you're handing a toddler, you've given this toddler a lollipop every day, and then all of a sudden you're like, no. So she's like, what the heck? So it's just like being able to speak so gently to yourself. And what do you think? Is there anything else you think she might need to hear in that moment?
I think, yeah, just speaking gentle to myself, kind of trying to tune in to where that, because I'll visually be taken to a memory in my life, to really like reflect on those times. So I would see like what was going on in those times through family and friends and all those things, and just kind of ask what was needed and what has not been heard or seen as my child self, and how I can help kind of heal that aspect of myself so I don't have those urges, that I think I need something outside of myself type thing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sammy. Thank you. Beautiful. And for anyone else, did anyone else have a challenge this past week that they would like to speak to?
Yeah, so mine's similar to Sammy's in that we order from restaurants like twice a week. That's kind of been a habit that we've gotten into, and I do a good job of picking good choices. Like I'll order, like maybe a meat and broccoli and asparagus or something like that. But what concerns me is what it's being cooked in, and I have no idea what it's being cooked in. And so I it's like I can't resist ordering as opposed to just fixing something at home, because it's just so much easier and just tastes better. and so I'm like, I guess I should be just fixing something at home, so that way I know what it's cooked in, as opposed to ordering from the restaurant. So those are kind of my challenges I've had.
Totally. And thank you for sharing that. And it is difficult because it is hard to know what they cook in. And most restaurants do use like canola oil or vegetable oil because it's cheaper. And so to still be able to know that like you're doing a great job with the choices you have. And this is like just a continued up level so that if you do need to order out to still make those, like, that's still an awesome choice. And that I'm so proud of you for making that. And then to up level more, yeah, maybe like one additional time, you can don't have to like say I'm never going to order out again, but just like maybe one increased time that you eat at home, or finding a restaurant where they would be willing to do it in olive oil or coconut oil if they have it. But most restaurants do have olive oil, so at least you could request that. Do you know which restaurants do you normally eat at?
Longhorn. I'm trying to think of the other one we ordered from. I know Longhorn's that's the standard one. With Friday nights, or it's like Longhorn nights. So, and I have no idea what they cook in. Maybe if I was at the restaurant, I could ask and I could be more specific. But when you're just ordering online, you don't really have that option.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so this is again great to know. So it's like a Friday night thing, having like that minimal amount of oil that the stuff is cooked in. If that's okay. And one thing to know about those fats. So for anyone listening that's kind of maybe not super well versed on the fats. So as we're focusing on adding more healthy fats, your body, it's like a ratio. We want to be, as important as it is not to eat the unhealthy fats, it's also just as important to eat the healthy fats that your body has. It's like you're giving your body building blocks for all your cell membranes. They're made with the fatty acids that you eat. So even if you do eat, with uncontrollable situations like that, that you can, like, if on Friday, maybe for lunch, add in like avocados, like give your body healthy fats to use. So it kind of dilutes out those unhealthy fats that may be added. But this is such good awareness to have. And
Good to know. Thank you. Maybe I won't feel so guilty. The other was Olive Garden, and I ordered like the salmon and broccoli. But like I said, that seems healthy, and hopefully it wasn't anything creeping in there that was bad. But I just don't know.
yeah, and maybe even on the online app, I know that sometimes they have like spaces for notes, and you could maybe just be like especially Olive Garden. I know they have olive oil, so you can just be like, please.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Olive oil. Yeah, maybe you can add a note if it allows you to.
Okay. And then I didn't eat the salad. I love their salad, but I love it because of the dressing. And I'm pretty sure I don't know what's in the dressing exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's probably made with bad oils or something. So I didn't eat it.
Yeah. Oh, well, good for you. Good awareness, Dawn. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else want to speak to a challenge that you had this week that you can navigate? Andrea?
Hi. I'm challenged in the evenings. I feel like throughout the day, I'm pretty good. And then I'll eat dinner maybe around like 6:37. But I don't usually go to bed until like 11:30. And around like 9:30, I get hungry and I'll be like, okay, well, I'll just have like a few little snacks. And like, I bought these grain-free pretzels with hatch chili that are so good. And I ate like almost the whole bag. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. This is so bad. And I did that like 2 nights, something similar. So that's one thing I'm struggling with. And then just in general, like dinner as well. Like, I think one thing I want to do is like more meal planning, because there were some nights that I would eat out and like try to make healthy choices when I eat out, but just because I felt like tired and didn't feel like cooking a meal. So I'm thinking maybe more meal prepping, but I'm still not exactly sure what to do with that like later evening time. And I've been like working out pretty consistently, and like I'm on like a workout program. And so I feel like part of it may just be that like maybe I need to eat more throughout the day so that I don't get hungry in the evening.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing this. And this is so common. Nights can be really difficult, and it can be a multitude of factors. So I love that you shared that you're working out more, which may absolutely be that you just need to increase your protein and your fat, especially at dinner time, and notice if that helps you not to get hungry at nighttime. And then do you feel like it's real hunger at night, or do you feel like it's more of an emotional eating?
I feel like it's real hunger, but it'll be when I'm like watching TV or something. So it's kind of hard to say. Maybe it's just like, oh, I want something to do, but I definitely feel like hungry.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. So definitely eat if you're hungry. But I think adding in that extra protein and fat at dinner will help, but also to add in protein for your snacks. If you are eating this the what were they? Grain-free pretzels?
Yeah, I'll put a link to them, Sammy.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely just to add in, maybe if you have any like pulled chicken that you can add. You can get that from HEB that's like already pre-prepped. So just adding some protein to help satiate you, because sometimes things like that, even though they're good ingredients or better ingredients, they're still very much carby. So it's
Yeah,
still,
yeah.
as we're gonna speak about in a little bit with the sugar, it's like still just not getting satiation. It's just like I could eat the whole bag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one other thing is to notice the patterning. So if you're watching TV and eating, that's a shared pattern. So what happens then is every time you sit down for TV, if you're eating, then when you go sit down to watch TV, your brain's instantly like, where's the food? Give me the food. And so to be able to kind of decouple that. So I would invite you this week, if it's possible, to, if you're hungry at night and you want to eat, amazing. Can you do it not in front of the TV? Could you be like, well, I gotta turn the TV off. I'm gonna go sit. I'm gonna be present with this food at night. I'm gonna have the portion that I have. And then what really helps me when I do that is I've shared this with y'all, like the post meal ritual or post snack. If you're having trouble going overboard, is like eating the portion and then having something like a tea or club soda that's directly afterwards to give your brain something to do and give like your mouth something to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of times we just want another dopamine hit. It's like, oh, I want more pretzels, or I want to keep that going. So it's like giving yourself something else to have. But yeah, so recap of that: eating a bigger dinner and maybe eating more for breakfast and lunch if you're finding that, and then by the end of the night, hopefully not feeling so hungry. And then if you are still hungry at night, to add protein to your snack. Maybe that's nuts, maybe that's meat, and then adding decoupling the TV, noticing that kind of linked pattern.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it can be helpful too to create a new ritual on the couch. So sometimes it's like in the beginning, especially, it's like, well, what do I do? Like, I'm so used to eating. So to make a new ritual, like what would you want to see yourself do on the couch if you're watching TV?
Wait, what would I want to see myself do on the couch?
Yeah, while you're watching TV, what would be like a new ritual that would feel more
Like drinking tea would be great.
Yes, absolutely. So if you can maybe try that this week and see yourself, like have the tea readily available, have the tea kettle or whatever you use to boil water readily out, just to minimize the effort, because it's way easier to grab a bag of pretzels than it is to like go find the tea and go boil the water. So like, how can you minimize that kind of steps?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Andrea. You're doing amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other challenges?
Hi, I just joined, so I feel kind of bad. I'm Liz.
You're perfect,
I feel
Linda.
kind of bad because I don't really know what we're talking about exactly, but I know like for my challenges, like of the week, what you're asking?
Yes, and your biggest challenges this past week.
Yeah, I think just, I don't know. I don't think I've like researched enough. Like I feel like I haven't been like counting exactly like my sugars and stuff. I haven't really been counting, like being very specific with it, but I think I have been, I know like kind of what I'm supposed to be staying away from and eating and stuff. And I haven't been eating like, I don't know, like I feel like I have an understanding of it, but like actually like doing more research and like and also like buying things at the store to make recipes to actually make the food has been hard for me because I never cooked before. like I'm just not someone that really cooks much, and so now I'm like trying to do literally the basics like baking chicken and stuff like that. So I found like a healthy marinade and like baked chicken yesterday, and like that's a huge win for me, but like it's really challenging because I'm like starting from like a very basic start. Like I'll eat salads a lot, you know, like, and I said on a Facebook page, like I eat like a rabbit, like, because I literally eat like raw vegetables because I don't really cook much. So that's kind of my challenge. But I'm just trying to like maybe do like a recipe or two a week, you know?
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's, yeah.
Yes.
I guess what would you recommend for breakfast that's like really simple? Like I know you might have already posted that, but maybe that's something that would be helpful. Thank you.
Totally. Okay, let's start really quick with the dinner, or the being able to cook. I just want to honor you that this is a journey. So you're doing awesome. This is a huge step for you to get into the kitchen and be cooking your meals for yourself and learning easy things to go to. And so that you bake chicken, like that's so awesome. And then stuff to make it a little bit easier on yourself. Or I guess, what do you think, like we can dive a little bit deeper into that specific challenge. What do you think is the most challenging part about like making dinner for yourself? Is it the actual cooking piece, or is it like finding a recipe or finding something that you like, the time?
It's not even recipes. It's like the anticipation, like trying to get myself to do something new that scares me, to be honest. Like I'm literally like, this is maybe diving a little too deep, but like, I'm like a little bit like have some trauma involved with like being like, my family like would make fun of me for like not knowing how to cook anything, even though they didn't teach me how to cook anything. Like, I know it sounds insane, but whatever. I'm like scared to try new things sometimes because I feel like I'm so scared of failing, if that makes sense. And so it's like partly me and partly because like I feel like sometimes I didn't have a lot of support with it. So I'm a huge perfectionist. So like if I try to make something and then I don't make it the right way, like it's like terrifying to me. And so that's probably where that comes from. And that's probably the most uncomfortable part of like not knowing how to cook stuff. Is like someone laughing at me for not knowing how to like hard boil eggs or something. And like, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I don't know. It's kind of where I'm at, but
Yes. Well, Liz, I think it's so, thank you for sharing that. I think it's so huge to acknowledge, and thank you for, that's vulnerable to admit, and it's so valid. I felt the same way. I didn't know how to cook. And so to allow, what do you think you need to hear in the moments of resistance of like, what do you think that's inner child of you needed to hear when she was scared to being laughed at?
just, I don't know, just like reassurance from like people that like were caring for me, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not like I didn't have that. I think like any sense of like someone making fun of me just really triggers me for some reason. I don't really know where that comes from, but it's just really interesting. I don't know why I got into that, but yeah, I don't even remember what you asked me now, but just waking up.
That's okay. Just that what your inner child is scared of being laughed at, that part of you and that's such a valid feeling to have. What does she need to hear?
Oh, just like reassurance that like it's okay to like make mistakes, you know? And so I think like, yeah, telling myself that is powerful. I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Liz. So this is beautiful to be able to cultivate that kind of self-talk practice throughout your week. Every time you're cooking, like let your cooking be like a time of affirmation. You can even turn affirmations on and it just be like, I'm learning. I get to be creative. I get to have fun. There's no way to do this wrong. It's okay if I screw it up. Like, you know how many times I burnt stuff and like F stuff up? I hope it's been a lot. So yes, this is beautiful. And maybe allowing this cook preparation time to be like a special time for you to affirm yourself and just to let yourself kind of freedom of judgment.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome so much. And then as far as breakfast go, so easy breakfast ideas, is that what you were asking?
Yeah, just because I have to be at work at 7 a.m. So it's just really hard to like, even find motivation to make breakfast. So I've just been eating a banana a lot. And then I'll eat bigger like lunches and dinners. And then I try not to eat super late at night, just because I feel like it's not good for me. But a lot of these things too, I feel like are like things that I think that aren't good for me, and I don't really have like valid reasons behind it. I don't know. I used to eat like a lot of sugary stuff right before bed, and I don't think that's good for you. But
Yeah. Well, this is perfect. So for breakfast, and also to notice that anything new, so if you've just been eating a banana, or maybe you used to eat like a sugary something in the morning, that anything new can feel challenging until it is no longer challenging. So it's like driving a car for the first time. At the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like checklist, everything. But then once you drive 100 times, it's like everything's autopilot. Like you don't have to think about it. So imagine that that's what's happening right now. You're in a mode that's like this, like, oh, I've got to do like so many things. I'm just going to grab a banana. So if you can just find some defaults that become easy and just allowing that kind of weird transition period where it may feel hard, but things that are easy can be like a protein shake. Like I definitely would invite you to get protein in the morning. I think that's going to help with your cravings, with feeling satiated, energy. So protein in the morning, you could get a protein powder, which I have in the toolkit, or I can reshare. That's so easy. All you do is add water and blend. So it's like, or you can add more stuff. You could add coconut milk, you can add berries and stuff, but super simple, basic. You can just throw it in with some water. Other things would be either a protein bar, boil some eggs the night before and just have boiled eggs. I mean, or you can boil them while you're getting ready. That's what I do. Just boil them while I'm getting ready, and then I can eat them on the go. But it's easier the night before because then they're cold when you wake up. Other things, yeah. You can just having leftovers pre-made, so often I'll put like a crock pot on at night and then it's ready to go in the morning, like chicken, or I'll have burger patties made and I'll just eat a burger in the morning. And I know that sounds weird, but it's releasing the breakfast mentality and just doing meal 1, meal 2, meal 3. Other things can be like the grainless granola is an easy grab, but just adding in protein for sure. Pre-made those Adel sausages. Applegate has sausages that you literally you can put them on the stove top. Ideally, if you need them, pop them in the microwave. That's, up level, or like it's better, have the sausage. And then if you do have time to throw them on the stove, that's an up level. But yeah, let me know if do any of those sound decent?
yeah, that sounds great. Thanks. I wrote some of those down so I don't forget.
Oh, cool. And definitely check out the chat because everyone's popping you really good advice if you don't see it. And thank y'all for engaging and helping her out for sure. Awesome. All right. Well, just to honor time, I am going to switch over to the sugar. But if you have any more challenges, drop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. But I want to make sure we cover this. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. Can y'all see my screen? Jessica, okay, cool. All right. Well, one of the biggest takeaways I would love for you to take from this program, if anything, is just that calories are not calories. So that calorie mantra, we can just eat whatever we want, and as long as we're eating 1,200 calories and we'll lose weight, yeah, that works for a little bit of time, but your body adapts. The quality of your food matters, and it disrupts your hormones. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this call. So you may be able to restrict yourself to 1,200 calories for X period of time, but it usually backfires horribly. And a lot of that's because, which I will explain in a minute, but a lot about your hormones and your satiation signals. And so we've been preached at a lot of common misconceptions that we need to just eat less and move more, that to just count your calories. We've been told that fat is bad for us, or that we can just exercise our way out of an unhealthy diet. And these things do not work. And we have an obesity epidemic amongst all of our population, but also amongst 6-month-old babies. And it's like, do they just need to eat less and move more? No, the reason is because their hormones are messed up because the mom's hormones were messed up. And so that's what we're gonna be talking about how to get back into our absolute most energized state, our most fat burning state, and just be able to honor our bodies. So I'm gonna skip over these statistics, but I'll send you all these slides if you want to go through them. One of the other things I want to mention that I love mentioning because it's just so important, that this isn't just about weight loss. This is about your mental health too. And this is so huge. And so Alzheimer's, which is escalating, it's quadrupled in the last couple decades. And if you have diabetes, your risk of Alzheimer's quadruples. And they're terming it as type 3 diabetes. And what it does is it's basically like diabetes of the brain. And what diabetes is when you become insulin resistant, which means basically your brain can't use glucose properly. And so it starts to atrophy. And then a lot of Alzheimer's is brain inflammation from these certain foods like gluten and dairy that may be causing inflammation in the brain. So it's both a combination of just this high intake of sugar and then eating a lot of inflammatory foods. And processed seed oils being a big part of that too. But the reason I share this with you is because also you don't just catch Alzheimer's. You don't just like get it. It happens decades before a diagnosis, the start of Alzheimer's. It starts with brain fog and just like losing your keys and just like not really remembering stuff. It's just this slow process. And then it gets to a point where it's irreversible. So we want to catch it. We don't want it to become that. Same with diabetes. You don't just catch diabetes. It starts as pre-diabetes, which is insulin resistance, which I'm going to speak to. And then it becomes pre-diabetes, and then it becomes diabetes. So we want to catch everything before it gets into any of that. And the thing is, this is so lifestyle based that we don't need insulin. We don't need to be injected with insulin. We don't need to be taking prescription medications when we are taking care of ourselves and our lifestyle. Okay. So how did this all happen? Okay, well, in the 1970s, heart disease was on the rise. So it was deemed that fat was bad. So they started stripping fat out of food. And the food tasted horrible because it didn't have any fat in it. So what they started adding sugar. And at the same time, high fructose corn syrup was developed. And so the reason this was bad wasn't because high fructose corn syrup is necessarily so much worse than like table sugar. It's pretty much the same metabolically, a glucose and a fructose molecule. The reason it was so bad is because it was so cheap to produce. They could pump it into everything. And so that completely backfired on our health. Diabetes has now tripled since the 1970s. The obesity, there's 1 in 3 people are obese, 2 in 3 people are overweight or obese. And by the 2015 or 2030, forgive me, by 2030, it's expected that 50% of Americans will be obese. So that means 1 out of every 2 people you'll look at is obese, which is insane. And that's a huge part of it, is this excess consumption of sugar and carbs. And then also the processed oils, vegetable oil, soybean oil, which is just so pro-inflammatory, and then a lot of fried foods. So, but we're going to be focused on sugar today. So what happens? I want you to understand what's happening in your body when you're consuming sugar. And real quick, just don't want to demonize sugar, like having like your body can tolerate a certain amount. It's when we're just getting this onslaught of sugar. Like we've gone from eating, I've got it in a slide, like 22 teaspoons a year on average to 22 teaspoons a day on average. And so it's just, our bodies were not meant to have this, and it's snuck in everywhere. And that's why it can be so challenging. But what it's doing in your body. So when you eat a lot of simple carbs or sugar, so this isn't just like candy and dessert and cupcakes, it's also things like oatmeal, things like oat milk, things like orange juice, anything that's going to spike your blood sugar up. It spikes it up to the top of this roller coaster, and you may feel like a little high, and you get that dopamine hit, and like, this is great. And then what happens? Like 30 minutes later, crash and burn. And then what do you feel at the bottom of a sugar crash? Usually irritable, foggy, like gross, like tired, fatigued. And then what do you want more of at the bottom of a crash? Sugar. So we want more sugar, more carbs. Usually we start craving more carbs for that energy or caffeine. And so then we spike our blood sugar back up to the top of this roller coaster, and then we crash. And so it's like this roller coaster all day long, crashes and cravings. Typically why at night many people have horrible sugar cravings, because they're riding all day long. They've maybe been able to distract themselves, and then at the end of the night, it's like, we're gonna go binge. Okay, so there's more to this story. So you've got a hormone called insulin, and insulin is your fat storage hormone. When your sugar spikes up, if you eat a bunch of carbs or sugar and it spikes up, that's toxic to the body. So the body has a mechanism that has insulin to pump out. Insulin comes out and it takes the sugar from the blood and it stores it in your cells. It delivers it to your cells. So it goes to your liver, your muscles, your brain, and your fat cells. Well, your liver and your muscles and your brain have very limited storage. So but the more muscle mass you have, the more tolerance you have, but very limited storage. And the rest is going into fat. The rest is just getting shunted straight to fat. And so when insulin is present and insulin is high because the sugar was high, then your body's in a fat storage mode. It's like we don't want to burn any fat because we got to get this, we have to burn through the sugar first. So we're going to store it all as fat. So it's like a one-way street. You cannot burn fat during this state. And then when insulin's not present between meals or when you eat something that's low carb and higher fat, your body is able to release fat from the storage and burn it. So real quick recap, we spike our blood sugar, insulin goes up, we're in fat storage mode. We're not burning fat, we're just storing it. Then what happens is over time, if you're continuously eating a ton of sugar all the time, you're getting these chronically high levels of insulin. And basically the body is like, we don't want any more sugar. We can't take any more. If you imagine it's like each cell is like a suitcase. And yeah, you can handle an amount of sugar, amount of clothing, but it gets to a point where you cannot close that suitcase. And the cells are like, we cannot take anymore. And so they start becoming resistant to insulin. Basically, insulin's knocking and it's like, come on, take this sugar. We need to get it out of the cells. And the cells are like, no, like we can't take anymore. So insulin's having to, basically your body's having to produce more and more insulin to get your cells to respond, to get them to hear the signal and open up. And eventually you get to a point where you can't produce enough insulin to get the cells to take on any more insulin. They've lost the signal. Basically cells down regulate and they stop hearing insulin. And so that's when people have to start taking injections of insulin. But is that the answer? Is the answer taking more insulin? No, the answer, our bodies don't need more insulin. The body needs less sugar. It's like, we've got way too many clothes in the suitcase. We got to take some out. And so that's why for a lot of people, like y'all have heard of like the keto diet or just low carb diets, why they can be so effective in fasting. And the reason for that is with somebody with insulin resistance, which is the precursor to diabetes, type 2 diabetes, that you are able to get your insulin down, because when you eat carbs, you get the insulin spike. When you eat protein, you just get a moderate spike of insulin. When you eat fat, you hardly get any response of insulin. And that's why these keto, even doing that for a temporary period of time, if you are somebody that is obese or that is pre-diabetic or diabetic, that these can be such therapeutic diets, even for a period of time, just to get insulin down, get the body to start burning fat. And a little more to this story. So there's another hormone called leptin. Leptin is your satiety hormone. So basically in a healthy individual, when you eat, your leptin goes up. Leptin is in your fat cells. So you eat, your leptin goes up. Leptin, when it gets to a certain point, it sends a signal to the brain, hey brain, we're full. Brain's like, okay, I'm going to shut down your hunger hormones because you don't need to eat anymore. So you feel satiated. I'm going to rev up your metabolism. So you go burn through this energy. So then between meals, you burn, that leptin starts to fall because you're burning through your energies. And then brain loses that signal. So then brain's like, okay, I don't see leptin. Let's rev up your hunger hormones. You need to go find some food. And then it slows down your metabolism to conserve energy. So you're slow metabolism, hungry. Then you eat again, leptin goes up, brain gets a signal, and that continues. That's a healthy individual. When you have insulin resistance or you're eating carbs all the time, your insulin is chronically high. So when insulin is high, it blocks the leptin signal. Meaning, even if you just ate, but insulin is high, the brain doesn't see leptin. So the brain thinks you're still starving. It's like, where's the food? Let's keep your hunger hormone high, feel hungry. Let's keep your metabolism slow. So you're low energy, you're sluggish, you're conserving energy. And even though you may have just eaten. So I often give the example, if you've ever been to a Chinese restaurant and gotten a ton of rice and then like you eat it, and then like 2 hours later, you're hungry again. Or 1 hour later. I know for myself, I was never full. I was never mentally full. I could be like physically bloated and stuff from food, but I just always wanted to eat. And it was because I was eating so many carbs and my insulin was high and I wasn't feeling satiated. I never felt full from food. So it was like this constant eating. And that's what's happening here is your brain literally thinks you're starving. And so it's so sad is that people with obesity are told, oh, they're just like, they just have no willpower. They're fat and lazy, but it's not. It's the hormones. You can deprive yourself. You can try to restrict yourself, but if your hormones are jacked up to where you are not able to feel full, that you are hungry, your body's literally feeling hungry and you're tired. So you don't want to work out and you want to eat. And so the hormones are driving the biochemistry. The biochemistry is driving the behavior. So what do we have to do is fix the hormones. And the answer is not pump yourself full of insulin and just eat less and move more. The answer is pay attention to what the quality of nutrients you're putting in your body and how can we balance blood sugar? How can we eat in a way that's going to serve our metabolism and our hormones? Can y'all drop a 1 in the chat if you're with me? I feel like I'm going really fast, so I just want to make sure we're all good. No questions. Are we good? We'll take a breath. All right, well, I hope y'all are good. Stop me if you're not. You can interrupt me at any time. Okay, so let me reshare. So really quick recap, eating a ton of sugar and carbs puts you on a blood sugar roller coaster, leading you to having energy spikes and cravings all day long, puts you in a fat storage mode so you cannot burn fat, and it blocks your satiety hormones so that you just feel hungry all the time. And you may be thinking like, okay, well, I don't eat that much sugar. And I want to reiterate, this is not just candy, soda, and cupcakes. This is refined carbs, including, like I mentioned, like oatmeal, sugary cereals, or just even like bland Cheerios. That's basically just breaking down in the body like sugar. So anything with refined flour, wheat flour, even these like, a lot of like the cauliflower pizza crust, like they're just like 40 grams of carbs per serving. And that can be a lot for somebody who is insulin resistant. And I do want to mention that we all have a different tolerance of sugar and carbs, and it totally depends on where you are in your metabolic path. But for everyone, for your energy, balancing your blood sugar is key to optimal mental health, energy, and keeping a stable, healthy weight. But hidden sugars are hidden everywhere. So I just want to do this quick meal comparison for you because I think it's really eye-opening. So you could wake up one morning and have a donut and an 8-ounce cup of Coke. Then you crash, so you eat a Snickers bar in the afternoon or in the mid-morning. Then you go to McDonald's for lunch with an 8-ounce glass of Coke. And you don't even eat dinner. You're so tired, you just pass out and you have one bowl of ice cream with 1 cup of ice cream and 2 Chips Ahoy cookies. Okay? That is 100, woo, I ruined it. That's 140 grams of sugar. All right, well, the next day, you're like, I'm gonna do so well. So I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna eat Chobani yogurt with some Raisin Bran and 8 ounces of orange juice. Then for my snack, I'm gonna have oats and honey, this like Nature Valley bar, and just a salad with 2 tablespoons of raspberry vinaigrette dressing. And I have a coffee mate with just one of the little French vanilla pods. And then for dinner, I have wheat pasta with red sauce and an iced tea, a lemon iced tea. That's 144 grams of sugar. So that's more than the day before. That's more than the donut and the Snickers bar and the Chips Ahoy and the ice cream. So just to know that like so many things that look healthy, like this Nature Valley granola bar, most people would think that that's healthy. A salad, wheat pasta with red sauce, yogurt. These all sound like healthy things, but in reality, it can be so loaded with sugar that it's like, what are we doing? And that's why so many people, it's frustrating because you feel stuck and it's like, why am I craving sugar so much? Why am I not losing the weight? Why do I feel fatigued? Well, a lot of times it's because it's just, you're getting this onslaught of sugar that you aren't even aware of. And then you're spiking up and down all day. And then trying to resist sugar cravings when your blood sugar is all over the place is so hard. And that's why I just drive home in this protocol that this is the key, is to get your blood sugar balance, and then the cravings become so much easier. Okay. So the American Heart Association recommends 24 grams a day for a woman, 36 per day for a man. We're targeting 25 for this program. And just really, the real purpose of that is to get you looking at labels, getting you aware of what, just starting to train that muscle of like, I'm not just going to eat this blindly based because this label says it's vegan or this label says it's organic. Because that is just clever marketing in most cases. So sugar is addictive. So if you're, just to know that like we're biologically programmed to love sugar. When something was sweet in nature, it was a sign that it was safe to eat. So, but we've hijacked that mechanism in our brain because we've concentrated the sugar, just like cocaine, like concentrated the sugar and just plummeted ourselves with it. And so most of us are hooked, and it's a very socially acceptable way to numb. Sugar is one of the biggest, most abused drugs in the world. And again, it's because it's a lot of times socially acceptable. And so it's learning, hopefully through this program, when you're starting to use it as a numbing agent or an emotional crutch. I speak to this because I did this for so long. And I still have to navigate emotional eating, but really to learn how to not numb out with sugar and to just have compassion for yourself because it's so common and you're not alone and it's a journey. And so to be gentle with yourself as you go through it, and compassion is truly one of the biggest answers to breaking through an addiction. Okay. And so with that, I want to give you some strategies to kick the sugar cravings. Let's see what our time is. 11:01. Okay, I'm going to go through really fast. So I'll rapid fire if you can stay with me. So 4 strategies. My number 1 is what to add in. And I've already told y'all this through the program, but it's worth reiterating. Balancing your blood sugar, number 1 is getting the sugar down, but also what to add in to keep it balanced. So focusing on where can I add my protein? That's like number 1, because it's going to help with your satiation as well. So where can I add protein? That's chicken, fish, eggs, protein powder. I definitely recommend like eating protein though. There's something about the actual physical eating of food that can just really help with satiation. But protein powders are great too. And nuts and seeds of protein as well. So getting that in. Then the healthy fats, which we talked about, adding in avocados, olives, olive oil. And as I mentioned, fat, we don't get an insulin response, but it is our satiation. Like fat, when we take out sugar and carbs, when we go low carb, that's one of our energy sources. We are either burning carbs or fat. So, and protein, if we're depleted in the other two, our bodies can convert protein into glucose, but it's not the most effective. It's not the best for the liver. So adding in fat is going to be the stable, long burning, slow burning fuel to give you stable energy all day long, that you're not thinking about food between meals. And I didn't know that was possible because I was literally hungry all the time. And so to go from that, to have that shift, which did not happen overnight, but it happened. And it's been such a blessing to not think about food between meals, and to not be so like constantly obsessed with food. So adding in those healthy fats is so important when if you're feeling hungry between meals, it's like, okay, how can I add more protein and fat to my breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And then fiber, if you are eating carbs, fiber helps to slow the absorption of carbs, fiber and protein. So it slows down the digestion of them so you don't get such a big spike. And that's what's wrong with or I guess what's problematic with the processed food, many processed foods, is that they strip the fiber from food. Fiber is what makes things go bad a lot of the times, like in vegetables and things. So they strip the fiber and it's just a bunch of carbs that you get this big hit of sugar. So adding in fiber coming from things like whole vegetables and whole fruit is where to get your fiber. And then some other strategies is, like we said, check your labels, become a sugar sleuth. I would never pick up a label, or if you can train yourself to not ever eat something if you haven't looked at the label. And what to look for is that it's got protein and fiber and the carbs aren't crazy high, like paying attention to your target goal, which for here on this program is 100 grams of carbs. And just being mindful of how much you're eating in a day. And some things like that are marketed, like this vitamin water has 31 grams of sugar per bottle. So you could eat a Snickers bar for that. This tonic water is often missed. So tonic is different than club soda. Tonic has sugar and it's got a lot of sugar, more sugar than a Butterfinger. These naked green juices are insane. They look so healthy, which is so annoying and frustrating. But they've got 53 grams of sugar. That's more than a pack of Skittles. You could eat 2 Snickers bars and you'd probably get more protein. So paying attention to that. Yogurt is often, it sneaks in. So you got to check your labels for yogurt. Even like the coconut milk yogurts, the almond milk yogurts, a lot of them are really sweetened. And again, not to demonize sugar, but just to be aware and to notice how much you're eating. Raisins, so dried fruit, is totally fine to eat. It's just in moderation, noticing if you're adding a ton throughout your day. Almond milk, like the almond milk at Starbucks, it's got like 19 grams of sugar per serving. So it's just like, I know it's up leveling because you're not doing the dairy, but where maybe you could bring your own almond milk and add it, or nut pods. These are like big ones. So this is like cauliflower linguine. Like, oh, I think this would be great. But in reality, it's got 45 grams of carbs per serving, and the serving is only 3 ounces. So if you ate like an actual bowl of that, it would be like 90 grams of carbs, which is a big hit to your system. And things that you can help too is that movement. So as I mentioned, we can also shuttle sugar and carbs to our cells or to our muscles. So you can kind of navigate this, like with, especially holidays. Maybe you're probably gonna eat more sugar and carbs during the holidays, even with like paleo baked goods. So you can add in movement before your meals to get your cells, your muscles firing, that they can burn through this energy so it doesn't tank you so much, so it doesn't spike your insulin so much and go to your fat so much. So there's like, if you're running marathons or you're bodybuilding, you can handle a lot more carbs than if you're sedentary. If you're metabolically really healthy and your body's, very sensitive to insulin, so it can get your sugar from the blood very fast, like you're better. You can probably tolerate a lot more than someone who is overweight or diabetic. So it's also knowing yourself. This isn't, I'm speaking very generally for everybody, but this is also very unique to you. And simple swaps. So I love my simple swaps. The toolkit is filled with them. And if you ever need any, but this is what this is about the up levels, about lateral shifts. Because sometimes our minds freak out when we have to give up things that we love. So it's kind of like you can do, this program is pretty extreme in a way, that we are stripping a lot of things, but to allow yourself that grace with, on occasions, having the simple swaps, the Simple Mills cookies, or Susan mentioned the blondies, like for those occasions that it's okay, and to use those versus just saying screw it and then binging on and getting a huge blood sugar spike from something. So more simple swaps, veggie noodles, dark chocolate, the So Delicious dairy-free, no sugar added coconut milk ice cream, using almond flour instead of refined white flour, or using coconut flour instead of refined flour, making your own dressings like Andrea, using the olive oil, a chocolate cake if it's your birthday. Like you can do a mug cake. That's my favorite thing because it's a small portion. Like you can look up little mug cakes. I can post them on the Facebook group. That's like the best thing. Because I know for myself, if I have a huge cake sitting on the counter, that's very tempting too. So it's like, okay, single portions. But on a birthday, like to make yourself a paleo cake, pancakes, the Birch Benders pancakes are awesome. They're so easy. So all these little simple swaps, ketchups, Primal Kitchen, just using their ketchup and barbecue sauce and watching out for those where stuff sneaks in. So my last strategy, which I think is the most that's forgotten in the diet culture, is mindfulness. And you've already heard me preach this, but I hope that you're just getting brainwashed with these new concepts, that they just continue to wash over you, because this is a lot of information. And every day, just to continue to listen and practice. And it's just a constant practice of remembering. And so to have grace for yourself too, if you fall off. But this program is also about getting off of autopilot. So noticing when you are reaching for sugar, can you pause, create space, and ask yourself, what's going on for me? Why am I reaching for this right now? Is it just because I'm on the couch and I always reach for it when I sit down to watch TV? What could the new ritual be? And then trusting that in the beginning, it's gonna be hard to quit, or not, I shouldn't say hard, but that it will be more difficult because it's like this begging dog that's been given a treat every single day. Every time you sit on the couch, you get ice cream. So then all of a sudden one day you're like, I'm not getting ice cream. That dog is going to freak out and beg. So that's your mind. So being able to ride that wave of discomfort and retrain, you're retraining yourself how to be. And so in the beginning, there will be resistance because it feels unsafe and unknown. And the mind wants to avoid anything that feels unsafe or unknown to keep us safe. So to be able to honor that, speak kindly to yourself. Hey, I know this is hard, but we can do this. There's a rainbow at the end of this. You're going to feel so much better. So getting off autopilot, meaning starting to wake up to your patterns, wake up to the moments that you reach for sugar and carbs. Finding non-edible forms of nourishment. So this is kind of something that Sammy spoke to, was finding the other ways that feel like treats. Like there's so many things. A lot of times if we're not getting enough pleasure in our life, enough joy in our life, and food is the biggest source of that, it's something to pay attention to. And to notice like, okay, where could I plug in more pleasure? What does give me pleasure? Oh, being with my grandkids. Oh, doing something in my purpose. Maybe you love art. Maybe it's just something that maybe you haven't been giving yourself. Reflect, ask yourself, where am I not? Like, where else could I find pleasure? And then non-edible nourishment is often that food serves as a security blanket, comfort, relaxation. For me, it's just a direct link to calming my central nervous system. So when I eat, it's like everything just like feels rested and I feel calmer. And so when I'm feeling ungrounded, I want a sense of calm. It's like my brain's like, go get food. So I had to retrain that and be like, there's other ways to ground. I can go outside, put my face in the sun and sit and breathe. But in the beginning, that's harder than just going to the fridge. And so being able to train myself, like, no, I see you, brain. I see you just want to ride through this, but this is the game. This is my test. I'm going to go sit out when I get home. A lot of times it was like, I'd get right when I got home, I'd want to eat. And so I'd be like, right when I get home, I'm gonna go on the porch and sit and breathe until I feel relaxed, the 5-5-7 breath, or put on a meditation. So non-edible nourishment, tea, other things that you can find that are giving you the root of what you're looking for through food. And one of my favorite quotes is like, basically, food will never satisfy, or I'm gonna butcher it. Food can never satisfy hunger if it's not true hunger. It's not hunger for food, it's a hunger for connection. If it's a hunger for love, it's a hunger for calm. That food will never satisfy that. And that's a lot of times why we binge. And even if we're physically full, we don't feel satiated because that actual emotional need is not being met. Okay, so that's what we want to start paying attention to. And that is all from me. So I would love to open it back up. I know we are over 11:13, so I want to honor y'all's time, but if anyone has any comments or questions.
That was just so great to reiterate and look through and just, remind ourselves that there's so much stuff out there. If we're not aware of it, that we can lose track. And with the images that you showed, like in comparison with the donuts, and I've just seen myself go on that journey. I've seen many other people go on that journey and still not understand why they don't have the energy or that they're not getting anywhere. And so it's good to see it visually because I'm a visual person, and yeah, it just confirms like the knowledge that I've already had before this as well. And just a reminder. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sammy. Thank you. And I see in the comments as well, Andrea says, how can I find out what my insulin tolerance is? Well, Andrea, you can get blood work done, and you can get your hemoglobin A1C, and you can get basically your blood glucose, your fasting blood glucose, and see if it's elevated. But a lot of times too, there's just symptomology. So your insulin, if you crash really hard after eating carbs, that's a sign that your insulin's high and that you have like your blood sugar, it's hard to balance or it's not in balance. Other things is weight gain is a huge symptom, low energy, cravings. But actual number wise, it would be blood work. But even that, a lot of times the blood, you won't even see it in the blood till it's kind of progressed past, like, not that it's too late, but that it's like, you won't see the numbers really increase, even if stuff is already happening in the body, inflammation's already happening. So sorry, that's not the best answer. One of my favorite tools though, y'all, if you are ever wanting to do this, is a CGM. It's a continuous glucose monitor. And it's like the best accountability ever. What it is you don't have to be diabetic to have these anymore. There's a couple companies. One I've used is called NutriSense. Basically, you can get a 2-week trial where you put on this monitor, and no problem, Selena. Thank you for joining. You put on this monitor and it's directly to your phone, and you watch your blood sugar as you eat. So it's so interesting. You get to really see how food is impacting your blood sugar. So it's like certain foods you may think didn't cause you much blood sugar spike. Like a lot of people see it with oat milk, oatmeal, like jack up the blood sugar so high. And you can see your ability to respond. Like, you want it to come back down pretty quick. And then some people's it lasts like all day long. Some people it's lasting, they're eating at night and it's lasting through the night. So it's disrupting their sleep. So it's just very eye-opening, and it's a good accountability because you're literally getting in real-time data. So it's like, oh, do I want to eat that brownie? I'm gonna watch this right now. So it's kind of like good evidence. And I think this would be actually really good to do during the holidays. It would I think it'd keep people more on their toes. If you want some extra support during the holidays, to just like be very mindful of what you're eating, because you can watch your spikes. But I can send you info on that. It's $175 for a 2-week trial. And they're great. They have like coaches that will help you know how to like read the charts, and it's super user friendly. So that's just an idea, throwing that out there. I have an episode with the owner of NutriSense. She is awesome. Her name's Kara. So I have a podcast episode. My podcast is called Don't Eat Your Feelings. So if you want to hear her talk about the CGM, and we talk a lot about blood sugar and things that are common that people like, they've got so much data. So like foods that are common that have spiked people's blood sugar that people didn't know. Like, it's a really good episode if you're interested in that. Her name's Kara Collier. So with that, I'm so proud of y'all. I invite you now, if you have like 5 minutes, to meal plan. And if you haven't yet, like, take a second, look at your week ahead. Where can you navigate? What's going to help you best set yourself up for success for this week? And you can use the online meal planner in your Reset Hub. And you can post in the group and tag me for any accountability you want. You can post your meal plan in the group. Like, use the accountability, use the support. And if you can, please fill out that form, the Google form. It's in your email. And I can actually post it here right now. It won't take you long. But y'all are doing awesome. And I'll talk to you on tomorrow. See you for meditation in the morning, hopefully.
Thank you, Ellie. Have a great day. Bye,
You
ladies.
too.
Thanks, Ellie.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ellie.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks. Everybody have a great week.
Thanks, Dawn.
Same to you.